Ladies and gentlemen, today the salt will flow. We're having a special early show today. Salty Cracker joins us from the Sodium Podium. There's a lot to be discussed. There's so many different directions to go today, including people suggesting that the triumph of Trump might have been a rigged phenomenon. There are people claiming that people are jumping off building and committing suicides. I don't know how they got that data so quickly. And there are many people that have had enough of this. And there's an interesting process that people have to go through as they awaken from their cognitive dissonance. It is called grief. And we will talk about grief. Salty Cracker, you can find him at saltmustflow.com. Also on Rumble, Salty Cracker. We'll be back with the salt after this.
Our laws as it pertains to substances are draconian and bizarre. The psychopaths start this way. He was an alcoholic because of social media and pornography, PTSD, love addiction, fentanyl and heroin. Ridiculous. I'm a doctor, for sake. Where the hell do you think I learned that? I'm just saying, you go to treatment before you kill people. I am a clinician. I observe things about these chemicals. Let's just deal with what's real. We used to get these calls on Loveline all the time. Educate adolescents and to prevent and to treat. If you have trouble you can't stop and you want help stop it, I can help. I got a lot to say. I got a lot more to say.
Joint and muscle pains are exhausting and frustrating, but I've got a over-the-counter medication I'll introduce you to that provides great relief using the power of, check it out, chili peppers. Capsidin is made with a proprietary formula that contains no non-steroidal anti-inflammatory agents, no opioids, no anesthetic or steroid, nothing, no chance for addiction, no side effects, no chance it's going to interact with other medication you might be taking. Capsidin contains capsaicin, which is the substance in chili peppers that burns your tongue. That gives you that burny feeling. And of course, I've recommended capsaicin creams to patients over the years, but other capsaicin creams burn your skin. That's what makes capsidin so unique. In clinical trials, capsidin has actually been demonstrated not to burn.
I've been using capsidin to relieve my pain in my hands and my wrist from carpal tunnel syndrome and arthritis. The results have been amazing. I use it every day during my show, and I highly recommend it.
Get the pain relief you need from various sources, even backache, sprains, bruises even. Order now at capsidin.com/Drew to get a 15% discount plus free shipping. That is CAPSADYN, capsidin.com/DREW. Susan puts her capsidin all over herself here. The salt will flow in just a second. I want to tell you where you can find Salty Cracker. Oh, what has happened to my, oh my goodness, something weird happened to my computer here where everything, I don't know what it is. Wow. So I've lost all my emails and everything that I was looking at. Salty Cracker 9 is where you can see the salt on X. You can go to saltmustflow.com. Let me get on my Gmail. Give me 1 second here. I don't know why it all jumped off all of a sudden. Let's see. And you can go to Rumble, of course, Salty Cracker as well. Let's just bring Salty Cracker in here from the Sodium Podium. Let's get at this. Yeah. Welcome back.
Oh, thank you. It's great being back. And watching you with Alex Jones is fascinating. Watching these two worlds collide where you...
It is a bit weird, isn't it? Do you know why I did that? First, that was me guesting on his show, but then he came on our show, and he was very interesting. Two things I took away. One was my interactions with Alex Jones is my commitment to free speech, okay? I will bring anybody in here and talk to them, even Alex Jones. And I would love some alternative views, too, in here if they would just show up. But also, he was so funny. He told a story about his grandfathers both being fighter pilots. And I have to do my Alex Jones impression, if you don't mind. He's like, They both firefighters. They didn't have radar on the planes. There was radar on the ground, but not on the plane. But they had radar. Not on their planes, though. So they had to look for the flak. And then when the flak came up, they knew they were over the target. He goes, that's what I look for. I look for the flak. I love it. And I thought, wow. That is an interaction I shall never forget. You should look for the flak to let yourself, when you encounter the flak, which is not something I enjoy. I've certainly suffered a bit of flak. You're over the target. And so speaking of over the target, I just want to get your thoughts off the top of your head. It's sort of a different world here. I'm watching we're putting some of the restream stuff up underneath you there with the Rees and the salt must flow, but also but the cognitive dissonance is kind of broken. It got broken real suddenly. And what you're saying, and I feel like you've been yelling at people trying to get through to them through their cognitive dissonance. And your fans hear you, but I sometimes feel like one of your goals, is to get through the people that are running away with their Rees. And now you can maybe get through to them. What do you want to tell them?
That's a very deep question. Right now, I'm just kind of in a celebratory mood, recognizing that some of this cognitive dissonance that we've seen gripping our country has kind of been shattered. You just watched a man, much like Alex Jones, who everybody was told you're not allowed to listen to him, you're not allowed to like Donald Trump, he's an evil, racist, fascist Nazi. And with these results that we just got, you saw that he made up ground with every single person the machine tried to demonize him with. And so it's this, what reasonable, sane people are doing is working against this $1 trillion machine that is trying to make people just real stupid. And so it's just, I'm just in a celebratory mood, Dr. Drew.
You're breaking through the brainwashing and the hoaxing and the lying, which is really what's been so difficult. I woke up this morning thinking, wow, COVID may have been a blessing because it really accelerated the excesses and then tore open the lies, the inconsistencies, the bullshit and obfuscating. So I'm beginning to shift my attitude about COVID, which is something I've not gotten over, to being something I still can't get over, but I'm more positive about it.
Yeah, I think you saw a massive amount of propaganda mixed with medical martial law, and it was brought to everybody's door. There was no escaping it in this country. Now, you could avoid certain aspects of it, but everybody was impacted with COVID-19. And if we weren't able to circumvent the mainstream media press and the big tech oligarchs who had a stranglehold on the information pipelines, we'd still be locked down. They'd have us on vaccine passports at this point. If you go back and you listen to these people like Bill Gates or Fauci or any of these, or Elmo on CNN, they were telling you, we're not getting out of this. This is the new world that we live. This is the new normal. Get used to it. And it was people risking it all to say, listen, let's look at some data. You've got doctors in Santa Monica working on the front line over there. Why are they not allowed to speak? What is going on here? And people witnessing doctors being silenced who actually have qualitative data, that woke a lot of people up.
Yeah, and it really, I spoke at the Brownstone Institute this weekend, and that organization coalesced around this very issue. Think how different the world would have been if the Biden administration came in and went, yeah, this was nasty, but Omicron's here, and I think we got this, and we'd recommend a vaccine, but talk to your doctor about it. And we do think we think masks are a good idea also, but we can't force you to do that. Think of that world in 2020, what that would have been like if they had just come in, or at least in 2021 offered that up. Like, okay, got it, no big deal. No, it became this weird totalitarian march, and it had to destroy and trample people that pushed against it. This was the part that I will never get over.
Yeah, well, it's the machine was set loose. and these perpetrators within the machine, they were seeing that they can get more money, they can get more power, they can get more influence. And it was the carrot leading all of this was this medical martial law. And so these people were they were leapfrogging each other. They were trying to be more draconian. You saw this in California, California and these other Democrat
please
states.
don't even.
Yeah, I mean, we got mask mandates back in Alameda over here in California. These people were being rewarded for how much more they took our civil liberties away from us and pushed this. I don't want to get you in trouble, so I don't want to say it's poison.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Salt must flow. Let's go.
Whatever this experimental concoction for sniffles, which doesn't seem to be doing very well, you got more and more federal funding, you got more and more overreach of your government powers, and you got more and more. Look at what they did to these people like Fauci. They put him on the cover of magazines. This fucking scumbag was on Vogue. Like, they were putting these people all over the place. They were making TikTok songs of these monsters while they're killing our grandparents in these elderly care facilities. It's insane. And they got more money, money for doing that.
And then trampling the likes of a Jay Bhattacharya. It's like a mensch of a human being. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But so these people have been shaken to their core from this election, right? It seems to me. I mean, the people that were really marching in the direction of excess, that the American people stood up and went, I don't want any more of that. By the way, Caleb, what was those bar graphs you were putting up alongside of Salty Cracker and myself? It's not up there right now.
Let's see, I'll put it back up. It's the popular vote counts from Axios, and it's just showing the latest popular vote counts for all the recent elections. And the idea here is that, well, what happened to all of those people? Like, what? This seems like they were saying that this is such a crisis and democracy is on the ballot right now, and yet where are all of the people that they were inciting to come out and vote? What happened to the numbers that were suddenly, 20 million more, it looks like, in 2020, that just... Where did they go?
I'm hearing that some of that may be somewhat fake news. I'm hearing some of that may be late voting numbers that are still coming in. So I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see whether that stands or not. But what is going to happen with these people as the shield of cognitive dissonance, the denial, the self-righteousness, the mass formation, the delusions, all that kind of comes crashing down now when the unbelievable to them is real. They're first of all, they're in denial. The first thing I'm seeing is denial. Like, there must be a problem. It must be rigged. There's something wrong, right? Isn't that what you're saying at first?
Yeah. So on X, you can see all of this playing out in real time. And it's fascinating to watch. All of a sudden, elections can be rigged again. All of a sudden, you're allowed to...
I thought that was an insurrection. You're an insurrectionist if you say that. You, sir, are an insurrectionist to question the sanctity of our voting system. How dare you? Why do we have voting machines at all, by the way, if everyone doubts their accuracy? Why do we have them? Are they more efficient? Are they less expensive? Are they more accurate? No, none of those things. Why do we have them?
Have you seen... There are videos of Kamala Harris.
Yes.
Or in 20. Yeah, she's sitting there going, we got Elizabeth Warren, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, everybody's saying, we can't trust these machines. And now they'll sue your ass if you try to not use those machines. You want to do hand counting in a county in Georgia? Oh, shit. No, you ain't allowed to do that. Counting is illegal, Dr. Drew. And we will bring the full force of the weight of lawfare against you because we need these machines. These machines are integral when it comes to fortifying elections.
Fortifying elections. So they're in some degree of denial. Are you seeing that? I'm seeing denial and anger simultaneously. Like the late night host, that was full anger and sort of disbelief, but it was kind of like blaming. It was blaming and anger. But I'm also seeing denial and anger.
Yeah, well, you're seeing talking heads on CNN, and they're sitting there going, look at these white supremacist black men who didn't vote for Kamala Harris. I'm sitting there going, did you hear that? Do you hear yourself? I'm used to you idiots calling Asians white supremacists, but now we've moved the needle and now black dudes are white supremacists. This is a fascinating time to be alive. White supremacy.
Oh, salty cracker. You missed what happened here in California when Larry Elder ran for governor and the LA Times labeled him the black face of white supremacy.
I remember that.
Whenever I see him, I greet him as such because there you go. So that moniker has been around for a minute. It just hasn't been applied to the average African-American man.
Well, it's here now, and they pushing it real hard. Oh, you Latinos, congratulations. Not only are you Latinxes now, but that superhero power of white supremacy has been applied to you. Congratulations. Welcome to the party. And you're watching them bring in now election fraud. You're allowed to talk about it. And now everybody's a white supremacist unless you're a lefty, which is fascinating.
Caleb, I know you're pushing the conspiracy theory about the 20 million votes. I know it.
I gotta say this.
We need a little more time.
Oh,
we need a little more time before
I gotta shut up because I ridiculed people who questioned that election. I have flipped so far in the past 24 hours just watching it happen on the other side. It's the other side that they're asking these questions. I'm like, wait a second. Maybe the election was stolen in 2020. What's going on? These numbers don't make any sense. I literally did not question. I thought this is just a political thing. They're just saying it was rigged all the way up until 24 hours ago when the other side started questioning it now. And I'm like, wait, they're right. There's something wrong here. So they converted me.
Donald Trump, the one thing I kept saying about him is his whole career, when things come crashing down, he tends to rise out of the ashes like a phoenix. It's really uncanny. There are many times in his career that this kind of thing has happened, where even he goes, I don't know how this happens. I've seen him interviewed about it. He goes, I don't know, I'm different. But the ultimate final act would be if indeed, after coming back into being swept in with a large majority, breaking through the denial and the cognitive dissonance, and then enacting things that help the American people, and then finally discovering that 2020 was distorted in some way, that would be the entire movie. That would be the final act of an entire movie. But I don't know. It's not important to me. What's important to me is we get away from hoaxes and lies. Propaganda, we should have laws against it, don't you think? I mean, we used to have them. We should have them again. It shouldn't allow to be used against American people. In fact, I may champion that.
Yeah, we're going to need a bunch of executive orders the first day, and one of them would be to reinstate. I think it's the Smith-Mundt Act, and yeah, clearly
is that the one?
I'm not entirely sure. I'm like 90% sure, but this was revoked under Obama.
Look that up, Caleb.
And we've got
keep going.
We have got to make sure that we've got institutions that, it would not be hard to find through these people have been saying incredibly insane things. And I wouldn't be shocked if there was some sort of paper trail of them acknowledging what they know they're saying is stupid. Like they were the run up to the last few days before the election. They were telling you that Donald Trump was a Nazi fascist. I mean, they were still repeating the fine people hoax line. So you're running for Kamala Harris is running for president, and she doesn't know that this has been not only has it been debunked, but it's been debunked by your own establishment left-wing debunking sites like Snopes. It took Snopes 7 years, but they were finally able to debunk it. So she's either woefully behind in her information or she's purposely saying stuff that's real stupid. And this is being regurgitated by these talking heads. And I got a feeling that with a very, very, very tacit look at their emails, you could find some complicity that they're knowingly saying shit that's false. And if you can prove that in a court, these people should they should get some sort of prison time for them. Bless you.
Excuse me. I think the no propaganda position is something I really want to take. I want to put that in with my free speech line in the sand. This is stuff I can stand behind very, very, very clearly. The reason they were able to perpetrate the propaganda is because at the point at which President Biden said the most significant security risk to this country is internal domestic white supremacy, that gave the propaganda arm of the government the green light to go use it on the biggest risk to the American Republic, which is the American people. That should never, ever, 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 ever be allowed again. That's disgusting. And then what was the other thing you were just talking about? The, oh shit, it's something you were saying you wanted to, oh well, it'll come back to me. But it is time that this all shifted. I guess Joy Behar said that she was grateful that the system worked. So I'm grateful that Joy has the opportunity to look at the genius of our Constitution and agree we don't need to change the Bill of Rights and allow the Constitution to function. You're smiling.
Yeah, because you saw in real time, again, what looks to be Mockingbird media press talking points being sent out. And so after calling this man, Donald Trump, the biggest domestic threat to democracy, calling him a fascist, calling him a Nazi, violating just every civil correspondence that we've ever had during an election cycle, then they all come out and they say, it's important that Kamala Harris concedes and we recognize that this is the will of the people. Democracy was intact. And it's the same exact talking points that Kamala Harris did at her concession speech that it took her an entire day to get to, apparently. It's what the New York Times talking heads are saying on X. Every single one of these people all came out with that same exact line at the same exact time. And it just seems highly suspect. These people don't give a shit about democracy. They don't care about a constitutional republic. These people will not criticize blatant, in-your-face attempts to alter an election. You just saw 60 Minutes. Donald Trump is suing them. 60 Minutes interviewed Kamala Harris. They pampered her and protected her to an extent where they took an answer from a completely different question, cut it and clipped it and put it into the answer of another question to remove this chick sounding like an idiot. They got caught doing that. And these people who all of a sudden care so much about democracy, they won't criticize any of that type of stuff that their side did to obstruct.
They were outraged. They were outraged that you question the sanctity of the 60-minute journalists. They are the highest journalistic standards in the land, and yet somehow it's okay to do that. Listen, all this look. Unless you're one of the people that is in the denial and anger. We're talking about the stages of grief, right? Grief is what happens when people's sense of reality shift in an instant. They discover something about their reality, and it crashes in. And denial and anger is a normal feature of that. But when that comes crashing in, you have to start looking at these things like the defense of 60 Minutes doing what they did. That seems like a bad dream when you think about it. They did that. It's inexcusable. And it was excused, and the mainstream media stood behind that. That is some sort of weird Alice in Wonderland moment that everyone needs to come to terms with, in addition to 1,000 others. But that's just one where you think about it, you're like, what? They defended that and then stood behind journalistic standards? What? What were they thinking?
Yeah, well, this is a continuing line. It's all fair and game, but it's all fair if you do it to Donald Trump because, again, he's a fascist Nazi. It's okay if New York Post is silenced on X and Twitter 1.0 with the Hunter Biden laptop. They're allowed to find 51 intelligence officers, 51 intelligence big brains who, no, this is Russian disinformation. They're all wrong, by the way, but yet they're still all selling their intelligence wares to the private community. None of this makes any sense at face value. These people are all fine with overthrowing the will of the people as long as it's overthrowing the will of the people in their direction. So I don't want to hear from Joy Behar. I don't want to hear from this chick who just said Donald Trump is unhinged, he's out of gas, and he's a Nazi fascist. I don't want to hear how they care so much about democracy from these people. These are pieces of shit, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to play we're the good guys. Look at us. We're the benevolent. Here we are on our moral superiority soapbox. We care so much about a peaceful transition of power. They will not do a peaceful transition of power. They will go out there and they will regurgitate these empty platitudes to a bunch of stupid fucking lefties out there who will buy this nonsense. Meanwhile, they'll do everything they can to obstruct Donald Trump coming into this Oval Office. They will weaponize every intelligence operation. The CIA, all of these places will obstruct Donald Trump, and they will try to trip him up. They did it in his first administration. They're definitely going to try to do it during this one. But well, telling you,
what are you predicting? What are you predicting? What are you predicting?
I can't predict what these crazy people are going to do. I'm not that familiar with the insides of the transitional process between the administrations, but I can tell you what I know they're going to do. They're going to fuck it up, and they're going to fuck it up on purpose. They might leak shit. These crazy motherfuckers might blow something up and go, well, listen, this was Donald Trump's transition team, leaked this information to Iran. Who knows what these crazy people are going to do? But they're not going to go down. I think what happened with this election in a conspiratorial manner over here, I think we overcame the notion that this election's not rigged or rigged. Every election's rigged. They were rigging elections in Greece. This is something that humans do. They're always trying to figure out a way to put an extra fucking rock in a vase. That's how we work.
Okay.
Rock
in the vase.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is.
That was for ostracism, though. The rocks in the vase was for ostracism, to be fair. It's a little different, but go ahead. Keep going.
We have to understand that, yeah, Donald Trump won in 2016. And it's not like that was the fair election. These people are always messing with these. There's always hanging chads. There's always lawyers in the county. They have taken a situation that should be utterly simple, right? Put a slip of paper in a box. And they've made it the most fucking complicated. They're still counting today. You got all these machines. You've invoked all of these computers. These counties are paying millions of dollars for these machines, and it takes you fucking 48 days to count. No, it's complicated on purpose. The more complicated, the more access points for skullduggery and shenanigans, and they're all rigged. And Donald Trump overcame a rigged election in 2016, and we overcame another rigged election right now. And these people who, listen, they thought they had it. They thought, much like Hillary Clinton, they thought they had it. They didn't anticipate Donald Trump supporters voting early, mail-in voting early, and swamping and swarming the polls day of. We made them call it before they could pause counting. And now they're going to move to another contingency plan. The contingency plan is going to be to obstruct and fuck up this transfer. That's what they're going to do. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I guarantee, especially with them coming out there saying, oh, there's nothing more important than a peaceful transition of power. That's telling you. That's how they coordinate. That's how they telegraph these things. They're like vampires. They got to tell you what they're going to do. And so they're like, oh, peaceful transfer of power. Transfer of power.
Zombies. Zombie vampires. But wouldn't it be, if that's true, it feels to me like Laura Trump and her team was able to monitor so carefully the election process that it prevented some, at least, of the skullduggery, as you say. But I'm wondering if there's a way to anticipate further shenanigans as it pertains to transition and get an observing team in there to really, because this is it. It's like dealing with criminals or dealing with little children. You just got to get in there and get on their, and manage them, or keeping drugs out of drug addicts. It's all the same shit. Just get in there and structure it up and make sure they don't do anything illegal. And, they're prone to doing these things. So let's watch them real carefully. Why not that?
Well, Donald Trump is funding his own transition team. So he already knows that they're up to shenanigans with that. And he took over the RNC and gave it to his daughter-in-law. So he knew that they were messing up the election beforehand. Yeah. In 2020, the RNC helped the other side steal it. They were working together because Trump poses a threat to both of these parties, and he needs to act on it this time. He doesn't have another. There's no more elections for this dude. He needs to bring in Elon Musk. He needs to bring in Ron Paul, and he needs to not give a fuck about the New York Times running articles against him. This dude's been through it all at this point. Go in there. We need to take people who are going to obstruct and not do their job in these federal agencies need to be fired. And you need to take people that these agencies fucked over, put them in charge of them, and let people like RFK go ham on all of these agencies and trim them up, cut them way down, defund all of them.
Yep, I completely agree. Is that what you're yelling about mostly now from the Sodium Podium?
we spent the entire stream yesterday just watching these lunatics melt down, Dr. Drew, like they've opened the Ark of the Covenant, screaming and melting like crayons in the hot Arizona sun. There's a part of me that feels my humanity might be lost a little bit because I am enjoying watching these people. Again, their cognitive dissonance shattering in their face and them getting splintered in the eye with the reality of the situation.
It's grief. It's grief. And then we're going to see bargaining and depression before we get to acceptance. And it could take up to a year to get to acceptance is what we're going to see. The bargaining will be interesting. I'll see how that goes. But back to your hoaxes, you mentioned the Fine People hoax. And this is Scott Adams stuff, there are tentpole hoaxes. And Caleb, you put up some stuff from David Sachs there. And David Sachs was extremely anti-Trump until somebody got to him and said, that Fine People thing, that's not what happened. The goldfish was not what happened. None of these things were what happened. Do you know how I discovered? There it is. This is a bankruptcy moment for the legacy media. It's so true. That's the other thing. The Sodium Podium and the like won the day. We watched David Rubin on election night. It was much more interesting than anything that was being put out by mainstream media.
Did you see the tweet from Brian Stelter where he was saying if Trump, he says if Trump wins, this is going to be a repudiation of corporate and legacy media because it goes to show that nobody's listening to us. Right. I think that's Brian Stelter.
He's right.
But he's
right. He's absolutely, he's 100% right. And what I like about David Sachs's tweet there is that he's saying the spell is broken, and that's what it feels like. It feels like the house landed on the witch, and the munchkins are coming out all over the place. It's like, what? Can we talk? Can we celebrate? Can we have a good time? Can we run a country again? Without being told we're bad, we're racist, we're misogynist, we're black face of white supremacy, the Latin face of white supremacy, whatever it is. And by the way, this business of it being because she was a woman is a disgusting place for them to go, frankly. Because had she been an excellent, look, I just think to myself, you think I wouldn't vote for Margaret Thatcher if she were to show up again, or somebody like that with that stature and that substance? You think I wouldn't vote for her in a millisecond?
Tulsi Gabbard.
Give me a break.
Yeah, I was
Gabbard. I'll bring Tulsi, and I'll vote for Tulsi any day.
Yeah, you've got a candidate, and she's been in California politics for decades, and you only told me policy-wise that she's got a black vagina, and that's it. I don't care about that. That doesn't help me pay my bills. That doesn't help me pay for my groceries. And you go, well, what did she do for how did she fix San Francisco, Dr. Drew? How'd she fix it? She was the district attorney.
It's all fixed up there. Everything is great. No. California is great. And by the way, I want you to know, I'm seeing people say things that I've not heard before about California because the spell is broken. And I heard somebody who was sort of pro Newsom just on X just go, oh, he's ruined this state. It's like, yes, he has. Yes, he has. And why you couldn't have seen that before, I don't know. I don't understand it. All right, the salt is flowing. I still want more salt, my friend. We're going to take a little break. Saltmustflow.com, SaltyCracker9 on X. Take a little break, and maybe we'll get a little more your posting up there. We'll talk a little Keith Olbermann, and we got a bunch of other stuff to talk to. This. The Wellness Company knows that taking charge of your family's healthcare is a top priority, and that is why they are constantly innovating to deliver the products and services to help you be rationally ready for an emergency. They've added a medical kit for kids to treat over 20 childhood illnesses: nausea, vomiting, allergies, asthma, bioterror, God forbid, croup, ear infections, lice, and more. And you can also order the kids kit with an EpiPen. Carefully sourced, great price. If there's a risk of anaphylaxis for your kids, you want that EpiPen. That can be in all kits, each customized for a different purpose. It comes, of course, with a telemedicine consultation and a guidebook, and you can replenish the meds up to 2 years after the date of purchase. So go to drdrew.com/2WC for 10% off any medical emergency kit or supplements. That is drdrew.com/TWC. I want to teach you about pharmacogenomic testing. This is changing the way we approach healthcare. By analyzing a patient's genetic profile, pharmacogenomics helps physicians personalize drug treatments for more effective results. First, it enhances medication efficacy by predicting how a patient will respond to a specific drug, reducing the trial and error process, especially in mental health care. For example, it can guide the choice of various medications to minimize side effects and improve outcomes. In the long run, pharmacogenomic testing leads to cost savings. It shortens the time to find the right treatment and avoids expensive side effects. It also supports more personalized care, helping physicians make better decisions and ensuring that treatments are tailored to each individual's unique genetic makeup. Test simply requires you to swab your cheek, then you send in the sample to our lab. Discover the power of personalized medicine with pharmacogenomic testing. Tailor your treatments based on your unique genetic makeup. Reduce trial and error, avoid side effects, find the most effective medication for you. Take control of your health today. Go to drdrew.com/checkgenetics. That is drdrew.com/checkgenetics. I'm excited to bring you a new product, a new supplement, Fatty. I take it. I make Susan take it. My whole family takes it. This comes out of, believe it or not, dolphin research. The Navy maintains a fleet of dolphins, and a brilliant veterinarian recognized that these dolphins sometimes developed a syndrome identical to our Alzheimer's disease. Those dolphins were deficient in a particular fatty acid. She replaced the fatty acid, and they didn't get the Alzheimer's. Humans have the same issue, and we are more deficient in this particular fatty acid than ever before. And a simple replacement of this fatty acid called C15 will help us prevent these syndromes. It's published in a recent journal called Metabolites. It's a new nutritional C15. Pentadecanoic acid, it's called. The deficiency that we are developing for C15 creates something called the cellular fragility syndrome. This is the first nutritional deficiency syndrome to be discovered in 75 years and may be affecting us in many ways, and as many as 1 in 3 of us. This is an important breakthrough. Take advantage of it. Go to fatty15.com/Dr. Drew to receive 15% off a 90-day starter kit subscription, or use code Dr. Drew at checkout for that 15% off, or just go to our website, drdrew.com/fatty15.
Dr. Drew said the best way to quit drinking is by going cold turkey, and he's a doctor, so why would you question doctors?
Dr. Drew called me unfixable.
Of course, I'm always talking about Paleo Valley and their grass-fed finished beef bone broth and protein sticks. I take chocolate bone broth daily in my coffee. But what do you do with it? Have you ever done something that didn't work out, or you have a recipe that does work out? I threw a big scoop in some yogurt once, and it wasn't so great. I actually reduced the amount, and now I use like half a teaspoon. It works just fine. Also, adventures with the beef sticks and the protein sticks. Are you stashing them in strange places and maybe finding them later? What's the strangest place you put them to make sure you had them? I know, it is interesting. It's funny, but send it in to us. If you have the recipe ideas, the grass-raised, finished beef, pork, chicken, go to drdrew.com/contact and then select Paleo Valley ideas from the drop-down menu, and then share some of your ideas with us, and I will share them in upcoming episodes. And be sure to stock up at drdrew.com/Paleo Valley for 15% off your first order or 20% off when you subscribe. The salt is flowing direct from the sodium podium. It is the great salty cracker. This is a perfect opportunity for the salt to flow. Two things I noticed. One was you posted, I'm looking at your X post, and you post, hot white women had enough of the left's lecturing. What, in fact, did you mean?
Well, it sounds weird hearing that read back to you, but it's accurate, Dr. Drew. We've got there's a whole lot of lecturing going on in this country, lecturing, and you're going to make people tone deaf with it at a certain point. And the left-hand side has been browbeating, especially white. They did this after 2016 too. They said, white women, you did this. White women, how dare you? You better vote for the marginalized, oppressed, BIPOC, lesbian chick or something like this, or we're going to call you racist. And so I think what you're seeing, you saw white women really just kind of, I think, what's that, 53% voted for Trump?
It was a big number. Let me see if I get it up again. But it reminds me of sort of the end of the communism delusion in this country, right? We had the communist scare, we had the House Un-American Activity Committee, and then it just ended. And the one side has been using racism as a similar cudgel to the right used communism back in the 1950s. And I saw it coming. Mark Rubert pointed it out to me, a friend of mine. And I just couldn't understand how it would end. And I feel like this is it. This is how it ends. You can't do that anymore. And maybe it is the hot white women that put an end to it.
Well, it's definitely not the ugly white women. They all
69%,
voted
69%. 69%. 69%. 69%. That's a pretty big number.
I did
a
scientific sampling size on X, and I'm noticing it's only ugly chicks who look like something out of Lord of the Rings screaming about, why'd you do this, white women? You should have voted for Kamala Harris. And again, you have the first few years of calling white people racist, highly effective, which is why they drove that into the ground. It's going on 10 years. We don't care anymore. This is ridiculous. The border's wide open. Groceries are up at least 30%. You're watching this entire world be set on fire, and a dude in the Oval Office pooping his pants instead of putting the fires out. Calling people a racist while they're watching the downtown stores be boarded up and they're watching cars being vandalized and there's poop on the sidewalk in San Francisco. It's really worn out its effectiveness. And I can't wait to see how they try to broad stroke this. I know they did it with Larry Elder, but I want to see how well this plays when I've got Joy Reid from MSNBC. Isn't it fascinating? All the most miserable pieces of shit on television are named Joy. Joy Reid sitting there telling everybody, these black white supremacists. What's the matter with these black men? Yeah, keep doing that. Let's see if that helps you out with the midterms that are coming up. These idiots are going to keep doubling down on this, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse for them.
Well, especially if there is some success from a policy standpoint in making life better for the American people.
Yep.
If that starts happening, it could happen quickly. Much like this happened quickly, the cognitive dissonance came crashing down. I did mention David Sachs a few minutes ago, and his cognitive dissonance crashed when he saw the Fine People hoax was not what he thought it was. There is a particular former broadcaster I have grave concerns about his mental health, and that's Keith Olbermann. I noticed you tweeted about him as well. What's going on there?
Well, with these tweets, there is an aspect, I'm screaming, hey, this guy's questioning the election. He's saying, hey, the Russians stole the election. Hey, look at this. There's no way the Nazi fascist won. And, I'm screaming, okay, let's lock him up. That's obviously I don't want to waste resources locking, crazy people up for stupid shit like that. But I'm trying to illustrate that these were the same people. If you question, there was a policy for Twitter, a policy for YouTube, a policy for Facebook, a policy for, 90-something% of human communications is taking place on those 3 or 4 platforms. And if you question the election, they silenced you and they removed you, and people lost their livelihoods over questioning this election. And these people
where are the community notes?
Yeah.
Where are the community notes on Russia stole the election? Shouldn't there be a whole shitload of community notes following that?
Yeah. And so he should be, and so there's a part of me, I want these people to be held accountable to the new standards that they apply to our civilization, while understanding that the standards that they apply to our civilization are detrimental to our civilization. And so it's that kind of double-edged sword that you got to live with, but it should at least, it should be thrown in his face. I mean, he should be mocked and ridiculed into obscurity. This guy should be ashamed.
What is this, Caleb? What are you putting up there now?
Some kind words from Keith Olbermann that I remember. Just calling you an utter fraud, kicking the hornet's nest. You may not be lucky twice. He said all sorts of beautiful things about you in the past.
What was that in relation to?
Oh, it was because you posted.
I love rereading these things because I love rereading the New York Times article where they fucked me over, because it's everything they try to go after you on is usually something that was accurate and right. What is this one?
Oh, this one was whenever
Yeah, we
the
can't
Twitter
quite see
files
it.
came out, and they discovered stuff about Dr. Jay Bhattacharya was being suppressed. You know, that thing that was totally
yeah.
proven wrong, and we've found nothing deeper and worse about in the past 30, 40 days. Oh yeah, Keith Olbermann was against that. I mean, that's the kindest worded attack on you from him. So he's You probably don't see it.
Hang on, let's go after it a little bit. Let's do it a little bit. So he took issue with me defending Jay Bhattacharya, right? Is that essentially what we're talking about there?
And also, like, whenever the Twitter files came out, that he didn't agree with those facts.
He didn't like the Twitter files. Okay. So I'm trying to compose my response in such a way that I remain on digital platforms. And I want to channel my best Elon Musk, who's still it's your Sir platform X that and on YouTube where I saw your response, and allow me to channel it simply the way you put it. Go fuck yourself. Am I clear? Go fuck yourself. Simple enough. Simple enough. And there we go. And if that doesn't work anymore, continue to spout nonsense and let's see how it works. Let's see how it goes, because people are able now to speak the truth. The truth is prevailing.
But he doesn't know. You have to please forgive him. Please forgive him, for he not knoweth what he said.
I totally agree with that. I completely agree with that. That is the higher ground. And I feel bad for him, but you can also go fuck yourself. What do you say from the podium of SALT?
And how do you follow that up? That's perfect. Concise. Yeah. You don't want to confuse Keith Olbermann with too many words, Dr. Drew.
And it mostly the reason I'm outraged is anybody who dares to attack Jay Bhattacharya is telling me everything I need to know about them. This is a man beyond reproach. He is a consummate professional. He's a decorated professor. He's a brilliant physician, and he's a great human being. So you want to attack that guy? That tells me everything I need to know about you. Now, by the way, whenever we talk about the excesses of the Twitter files and all the things that were perpetrated, they chose him for the devastating takedown. Okay? Fauci and his group, devastating takedown. Francis Collins, devastating takedown of Jay Bhattacharya. I see you. I see you when you do that. I see who you are. It's not, and it is not pretty, and I'm never going to forget it. So there we go. Enough said. What do you say, Mr. Cracker?
We've got the emails where they're coordinating, attacking people who are deviating from their prescribed plans, and that has nothing to do with
but listen, it's not just that. It's the people they chose to take down. They chose exceptional professionals and exceptional human beings. Those are the guys. Because now, I guess they were the most threat because they were so substantial. But it's not just their substantiveness; it is their human beingness, their quality as a human being. That I'm saying you went after that. It is reprehensible. It is disgusting, and it's time now that we say these things. It's time.
No, and it's also time that RFK goes in there and starts firing some of these people. You can't have these people, especially now that we've got receipts of their communications. We know what these people were up to. They admitted to it in these communications, and it sounds like he's been promised the ability to go in there and get information for us. See, lefties are all screaming, "Oh, he's just going to go in there with a buzzsaw and fire everybody that Trump doesn't like." We're finally going to get some insight into these institutions beyond the Twitter files. We're going to get their own communication And we're going to bring those to light, and that will show. I imagine most of these people shouldn't be so concerned about being fired. They should be concerned about being locked up. God knows what we're going to find in those communications with these people, because
it's interesting. It's interesting. Somebody pointed out to me this. Now, listen, I was having issue with us. Of people talking about retribution. There needs to be a truth and reconciliation. There's no doubt in my mind there needs to be a reconciliation of some type. But does there need to be sort of a compensation for all this? And it was pointed out to me that in the Nuremberg trials, something like 7 physicians who were just doing their job were put to death for just doing their job without consent of the people they gave the materials to. And so we have applied a code quite voraciously in the past that we are not doing so now. Now, I am not saying we should do that. I am not. I know a lot of my listeners keep yelling about the Nuremberg Code. It should be something that we educate people about to let them understand the standard bearer or how far off we were. That we have literally put people to death for giving them things that were untested. We have done that. And now we are excusing and we are attacking people who take issue with anyone doing these things. This needs to be brought to light. And I'm right here, right now, in addition to telling people like KO, Mr. Olbermann, to go F, I'm here to say I am at RFK Jr.'s beck and call. If he needs some help, I want to come in and help, whatever it might be. I'm ready to go. Or if, who else is they bringing in? Musk. If Musk wants to help. Yeah, I know they're getting lots of help, but I want to help. And I saw, it was interesting. I saw Van Jones talking about that this morning. This was an interesting thing. I think it was him. He said, with the magnitude, he said the following thing. This is what he said. He said, when Trump came in 2016, I thought it was a fluke. I thought he was a clown. I thought he was a dangerous person. But with this mandate coming in now, he can bring in whoever he wants. People are going to be flocking to this White House to try to be a part of this because it literally is a calling from the American people. So, you agree?
Yeah, I think that mandate was probably already there. I think it might have been concealed with millions and millions of dollars of Zuckerbucks in 2020 and no signature verification. So I think what you've seen with this is another 2020 that we were actually able to get over the finish line. And I'm having a hard time believing that mandate just happened this year, because the rhetoric and the policies, the left has gone. They're a Frankenstein monster unchained. I mean, they're advocating. This is that Martha Raddatz interview. You've got Venezuelan torture gangs taking over apartment complexes, entire buildings. And she goes, well, it's just a handful of apartment complexes. There is no way. Like, my mom's a flaming lefty. She ain't on board with that. I mean, there's no way that your average liberal is fine with the dollar being destroyed, the border being wide open, crime through the roof. They had to finally acknowledge that crime's through the roof a few weeks ago when they said, it looks like the FBI's not giving out any information. So I think that there's always been a mandate from the people. Nobody wants high crime, high grocery bills. This is the Van Jones acknowledging this now is... You can't avoid it at this point. We swamped you guys.
He's a good guy. I've known him for a long time. He's a very, very smart guy. And I look to him for rational recovery, being rational.
Jones,
I used to do he's a good guy. Yeah, he's a good guy on CNN. Yeah.
But I'm sure he could be a good guy, but are you allowed to really be yourself and say what you think when you work for that institution?
Well, it's funny you would say. I think he is. I think he's given pretty much free reign. I was when I was there. I was there for almost 10 years, and no one ever told me what to say until they did. Until all of a sudden it started. And I was already on my way out at that point, and so fine. So it seemed to have changed. But he was always somebody that, well, the story is, okay. So I was on either Anderson Cooper or Don Lemon almost every night, and I had a show nightly on HLN. And I would head on over to the satellite booth before I did my show, and I would go on one of those guys' shows. Or if it was in New York, I'd go on there on Anderson's show. And one night, Don Lemon kept asking me, every time I came in, he goes, "What's this Trump guy? What's he up with?" And I was trying to figure Trump out at the time. I'm sort of neutral on him. Somebody is writing, a psychologist is right now writing an analysis to tell me why I didn't care one way or another, why I don't see him as a salvation, and I don't see him as I don't see either. I hope he does a good job. I hope we pick somebody good here. But I've never had this like emotional reaction, but somebody's actually analyzing me right now to tell me what the issue is. But I would come on every night and I go, well, I see the narcissism and I see this hypomania. He doesn't sleep very much. But then I would always say, some of my favorite presidents had bipolar or depression, and all kinds of, there's all kinds of, these are humans that take the office. So there's going to be human frailties exhibited there. And I would always say, be careful judging because you see these certain things. And I would talk about Teddy Roosevelt and his bipolar disorder and his narcissism, and Lincoln and his depression and maybe bipolar also. But anyway. So I went into my radio station. I was doing a radio show at the time. I went in the next morning, and then the general manager goes, "That was great. Could you do 30 seconds for the website, our website?" I said, "Yeah, it's 30 seconds. I could do it." Lay it down. And he goes, it's election time. You got anything to say about Hillary? And I said, funny thing. She just released her medical records this morning, and her medical care is just, I've got a million problems with the care she's getting, and I can do that in 30 seconds. So I basically set out a series of interrogatories about what her doctors were doing. She'd had a stroke, and she'd had a transverse sinus thrombosis, and she'd had a bunch of things that they may have caused, it looked like to me, and they were putting her on strange. The workup was inadequate, and I sort of took issues with all this stuff that they eventually actually answered me as though they were interrogatories. They corrected her care. But the next day, after my radio station put that on the website, the Drudge Report, remember the Drudge Report have those center headlines in the middle? Yeah, I was the center headline. Finally, a physician says she's not suitable for office, which was not what I said, had nothing to do with it. I was concerned about her health care. I wasn't concerned about her health so much. And it was this, I got a ton of bricks came down on me from CNN. First time ever, they were like, "Shut up." and we had already decided, they'd already decided to cancel my show 3 months before. And it was scheduled to end a week hence. So it looked like that comment caused me to be canceled, which was not what happened. And so I told CNN, I said, "Look, I have only the most, I cannot say one critical thing about my experience there. They were great. And particularly, even the people that came down on me, I have immense respect for, and I'm trying to understand how they shifted so much. And maybe it wasn't their direction. Maybe it was the air staff themselves that together. I don't know. But in any event, what was I saying? So I said, "Look, let me go in there and set the record straight because I have only good feelings about you people, and that's not what happened. And let me tell them what happened. Shut up, shut up, shut up is all I got." And so that was the end of that. So and they changed course after that. They were a very different organization. It looked to me, the way like Sanjay Gupta did not see, he seemed like he should have been blinking SOS to me, the way I saw him talk on Rogan and other places.
Yeah, that's incredible insight. I just kind of assume that you're only allowed on CNN if you have a certain persuasion, and I wonder how much of that persuasion is authentic. Like you'll see these people out there, and I go, "You can't possibly be you." I just have a gut feeling you're saying that because if you don't say that, then your bosses are going to fire you. But
Well,
maybe
I'll tell you what. You look to Chris Cuomo, who is also coming out of his cognitive dissonance, and let's see what he reports about what he was experiencing. All I've heard so far from him is, I didn't want to get a call from somebody at the administration. And it's like, really? They would call you and tell you what to say? Didn't that trouble you as somebody on the air? And didn't you want to? I would. If somebody called me from the White House and said, "Don't say that," I have Tourette's. I would immediately say it that night on television because I think it's a terrible, terrible, terrible thing, and I would bristle against it. I would not be able to just sort of hold it in and comply. I wouldn't be able to do it. So here we are in digital media getting canceled on YouTube. Anyway, hopefully. What do you think? So? I want more predictions from you. Do you think, for instance, YouTube is going to become a more open place to different ideas? I feel like X is already there. We have Rumble, thank God. What do you and the shenanigans going forward, and what we need to do to, and what's your predictions? If I interview you 6 months from now, where are we going to be?
Well, I think the YouTube one's really interesting because they finally have competition. They didn't have, for 20 years, they didn't have any competition. There was nothing else out there. It was YouTube or nothing.
Yeah.
And between Rumble and X, they got to be a little bit more. They can't just kick people off indiscriminately like they used to. You have people like I'm doing fine on Rumble now. Like I might do better on Rumble than I do on YouTube.
Yep.
And that's
I think our best site is X right now. Rumble's great. We love it, but X is suddenly like exploded for us.
Not today. Not with Salty here.
Oh, Salty's taking us down. Well, how about that?
Oh, sorry, bro.
It's too salty. What is this? YouTube policy change?
Oh, yeah, do you remember
when that?
When this happened? This was back in
that
was in June of 2023. It's almost like they saw something was on the way. I remember we talked about this last year when suddenly they just decided to change this. I wonder if this is going to happen with the stuff about the COVID vaccine soon. Like if they're going to start shaking in their boots and be like, well, we can't keep this thing going. There's a new power in town here.
It has to, or there's going to be liability also attached with this stuff.
I feel like we should sue too.
But so give me. But we were talking about 6 months hence. What is the world going to look like? You said there's going to be a bunch of executive actions. What do you think? What are we going to? Is oil prices will certainly be down, or oil reserves will be up? We'll be drilling in North Dakota for sure. What else?
Yeah, I think that's probably the first thing that he's going to do is he's going to open up energy expansion, and that will dramatically. I mean, once you lower the price of energy, that lowers the cost of everything. Everything has gone up in
Especially
price.
Food.
Yeah, food through the,
that's transported by trucks and things. They go way down.
Yeah, so he's going to be able to leverage prices and give people, the average American, some breathing room. And I wonder what is going to be the kickback to that, because you're now seeing trillions of dollars worth of corporate media trying to demonize. They wrote articles saying Trump was worse than Hitler. Like, these people have gone insane. And
and Vance was worse than him. So Vance is worse than Trump. So
he's triple Hitler.
So crazy when you think about it now.
Yeah, I wonder if you're going to see an inverse reaction to, well, now he's quadruple Hitler. He's Dimension X Hitler steroids, because they can't, you don't do for 10 years, trillions of dollars of unified corporate media attacks on a dude, and he starts chipping away at people. So he's going to lower prices for everybody. And that's what hurt the Democrats the most. Telling everybody there's no inflation, then telling everybody inflation's good for you, then don't worry about it. Now, you idiots, it's always the economy. And they're going to, they can't have Donald Trump humanized. They can't have him liked. And what are they going to do to damage his reputation with people? So I imagine you'll see the media guy. I can't imagine how it's going to get crazier rhetoric, but they will find a way to make it crazier.
Well, you know what, though? I will say that I think, I'm constructing what's happening as a grief reaction, amongst people that are sort of waking up to the new world they're in, or that they've always been and they just didn't know it. But the other thing, in addition to inflation, that I think people were sick of was having their intelligence insulted repeatedly. It's not only was insulting to hoax and propagandize, it was insulting to call somebody racist and misogynistic. People are tired of being freaking insulted. And so if they triple down on the insult porn that they're into now, that is not going to go well. People are really going to jump ship on viewing this stuff because they're going to hop on over to alternative media.
Yeah, I think we're seeing that finally. I think on TikTok, TikTok, which I think would be considered a left-leaning platform, comprised of mostly Zoomers, I would imagine, Zoomers and maybe millennials. Donald Trump is getting an incredible amount of interaction on that platform, and you're starting to see these kids. Donald Trump has become counterculture at this point. They've known nothing other than rainbow platitudes this and niceties that and bubble wrap everywhere, and just human nature. They're going to kick back against that, and the biggest way to get a reaction from your two moms is wearing a Donald Trump shirt, and you're going to see you're already seeing this. People are wearing MAGA hats. There were fireworks in California when Donald Trump won. When it got into the late night and Pennsylvania was clinched. I was sitting there going, "Oh my God, this is you're watching." They pushed too hard, too long, and they got too crazy. I imagine they're going to keep going.
Also, though, I think when you trot out Julia Roberts and all these movie stars in their 60s and 70 years of age, the whole thing about trotting out celebrities and doing these montages feels old-timey. It feels, and as does so many of these insult porn accusations that they're getting into, it feels it's been going on for 12 or 14 years. It feels like a previous generation's politics, and they're not letting up. It's old-timey. And I think we should be calling it that. Let the salt world, the sodium podium, call it out for being old-timey and old fogey, because that's what they've done. Now, we're sort of rolling towards the end of our time together. I want to know a little bit about your mom, because I'm interested in people that are not lined up with you necessarily politically and how they're reacting to all this. Obviously, I'm watching the late night hosts and the Keith Olbermanns and all these people have apoplexy, and again, it's denial and anger, and they're doubling and tripling down on how horrible everything is. Okay, I get it. Eventually denial gets broken. But is your mom having a reaction? There's an N of 1 we can look at?
Yeah, she's pretty guarded, but just from talking to her the last couple of days, I can probably guess where she gets most of her media from, and she's concerned about Project 2025. She's worried about the nationwide abortion ban. She's worried about all of
impossible.
Yeah,
no way. This government wants the federal government's out of our ass. They're up our ass. They want them out of our ass. That includes abortion and everything else. Let the states handle these things. The states and the local governments. That's how the American democracy is set up. And the federal government be all up in our lives all the time is not what was designed to do.
Yeah, but the other side, they've got no comprehension of that. The other side wants more. Their prescription for every ill societal is more government, and they can't comprehend that.
More federal government.
Yeah, more federal government.
Not just government, federal government.
Yeah. No, they want more federal government. They want more controlled. It can't be an accident that all of these people want central, localized Washington, D.C., big federal government. It would be impossible that they're not being managed in that direction. And then you got us who are like, listen, I was trying to tell my mom, you don't understand. The MAGA people, I want to be left alone. That's it. I'm John Rambo over here. Just let me walk through. I just need a hot meal in a cot, and leave me the fuck alone. That's it.
Leave me the hell alone. I've been saying that for years. That's why I thought I was a libertarian, because that was my main goal of government. Just stay out of my stuff. Just stay away from me. I don't want you in my life. But I realized that now that I've met some libertarians, I have a heart. And so this is a little different. It's a little different because I do want government to solve some problems, and libertarians just want to let it fly. Well, I hope your mom wakes up. Let's document the stages of grief as she goes through them. It's very interesting to see what she goes through. And I'm, we're looking at the Abraham Lincoln over your right shoulder. He gave a talk to the I think it's called the American Temperance Organization. It's one of his first documented talks, and in that talk, he told a story about a character in that temperance talk. There were temperance societies around then, mostly made up of older women, apparently, at the time. And he told a story about Old Fogey. And Old Fogey was an Abraham Lincoln term and character. So that's where I got that from. But I think we should resurrect it to describe the political posturing of Old Fogey today, and the old-timey notions that they are perpetrating on a modern world. It's time to take a more enlightened, unified approach, and it shall be preached from the sodium podium, shall it not?
Well, that, and we'll also co-opt malarkey. We'll throw that back in the direction.
I don't like malarkey. Malarkey, they tried that one. It didn't work. It speaks of Parkinson's and dementia and things that we want to leave behind. And again, don't insult us by telling us President Biden didn't have a neurological problem. It's obvious. It's insulting that you try to hide that. And I think that really worked against Vice President Harris as well, because she was a major, she was carrying that torch, and that is not okay. All right. So, yes, your daddy, I am winding down. I'm coming to the end here. Susan, anything?
I have a little retraction here. Earlier, we said that X had a really good following, and, which we do today, but today, Salty's Army gave X a run for the money. They all showed up for the show. And I wanted to mention, because Drew said that you were taking us down. No, you're pumping us up. You're making us bigger.
Where, on YouTube? Or
on Rumble.
Rumble, of course.
Yeah. So thank you.
Okay. The Salty Army. Is there any other aphorisms I should know about the Salty world that I can throw out once in a while, sort of as on the DL, a special secret language? I just learned the sodium podium. I like that.
That's deep cuts. Deep cuts. You could throw Legion out.
Are there other deep cuts?
What does that mean?
What deep cuts? It's like on an album, things that aren't popular. That if you know the album, you know that song way down at the end there on the flip side. Album, and for those of you that are not old fogies, album were these nylon discs that we used to put on something called a record player, and I understand they are somewhat popular again.
Freedom mullets, is that something?
What is it?
Freedom mullets.
Freedom
mullets. Oh, tell us about that.
Months, and then the wife was like, "No, we're done. This is it. We're not."
That's where you draw the line. All right. Well, tell Mrs. Salty, thank you for bringing you to us again, and hopefully, you didn't give me many predictions, and I guess it doesn't really matter because it's going to be what it's going to be, and we will all ride through it. And I have been very, very concerned about speech. I'm also concerned about the propaganda. I've been very concerned, and the lying, and I feel like that's all kind of that. I think we can feel more secure that the propaganda will be addressed, if not outlawed, and the free speech will be protected. And that is a great, great, great thing to say. So I'll give you last words.
I don't want to blow smoke up anybody's butthole. I don't think it's, winning an election is great. I don't think that solves, it's not a panacea for all of our societal ills and the stuff that we're going to go through. I don't want to doom anybody out, but this is a great start. It gives us a good foothold to get things going in the right direction. I look forward to, broadcasting through whatever comes next. I know look at what we've overcome already. If you still standing up at this point, you're bulletproof. I mean,
Yeah, and let's build. We got work to do. Again, the COVID Truth and Reconciliation is going to be a long process, as well as the unwinding of the FDA and the CDC and their excesses, and trying to make that a streamlined organization and restore them to their purpose, their task at hand, which is important, but they seem to have drifted from their original purposes. All right, my friend, good to talk to you, and hopefully we'll see you very soon. Anything else you want to push out there for people?
No, I just want to say thank you. Thanks again for having me, Dr. Drew.
It's getting more and more fun. You're getting looser. The salt's flowing more. And you got me to tell somebody to go fuck yourself. So here we are.
Remember to subscribe on Rumble. We're aiming for 1 million followers in 2025.
Oh, that's for us. Yeah, subscribe on Rumble with us, all the Salty Army, please. The Salt Army. We need a
Legion.
I'm going to think of some good names for you guys. What's that, Caleb?
The Salty Legion.
True
Salt
Troopers.
Legion. No, we got to think of it. Anyway, we want to get up to 1 million on Rumble, so do get us up there. Do subscribe. We won't bother you very much. And Salty, we'll see you soon.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
All right, take care.
Ta-ta.
And coming up for us, we have Susan's show tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Is that correct? Rob Schneider stopping by.
Medium and a comedian.
And he's been another one that's been very outspoken on X lately. That is 2 o'clock on the 8th. Why are there two? Oh, the special event with Jimmy Dore is 7 o'clock tomorrow night at the, and I always want to call it the Troy Theater. I can't remember the name of it.
You can get it virtually too, right?
I believe it's also on Rumble.
Probably going to be on his live show.
The Two Roads Theater is where you can find it. It's at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. It's in Studio City.
Go to jimmydore.com.
And next week, we'll start it out with Jay Bhattacharya and Tyler Fisher, a comedian, Remy Adeleke. Laura Logan finally getting in here. I'm looking forward to this on the 21st. Claire Craig from the UK, and Jessica Rose, who's been in Israel during all the terribleness there. So it'll be very good to get a catch up from them. There's a lot of work to be done. Please stay with us. Do tell a friend. Do subscribe over on Rumble. We want to get to 1 million there if we possibly can. 500,000 is within reach. We should get there very quickly, it seems to me. And if there's other things you want, drdrew.com/contact, you can reach us there and tell us any ideas you might have. Susan, anything else from a promotional standpoint I need to push out there? Drew Troopers, that's a good one.
Find all our sponsors at drdrew.com/sponsors and support the show. We have great products, all Dr. Drew approved.
Yeah, we do. We're very lucky to have that. And more stuff coming up in the new year. We have a lot of interesting things coming our way, and we're going to have a store, and we have a lot of things that I'm very excited. I'm very excited. I'm very, very, very excited
Weight
about
loss
that stuff.
programs and everything.
Well, yes, we're already doing that stuff. But let me just say quickly, the fact that I have not pushed diet and exercise more and more systematically and helped motivate people to do that, I am embarrassed. I should have been doing it my whole career. I do it myself, and so I should have been pushing that for other people. I became sort of hopeless that it was possible. I know that's ridiculous, and it's important. And longevity is on the heels of that, maintaining your muscle mass, properly managing your diet, and then there are supplements you can actually. I've been talking about NR and Fatty 15. These are things associated with longevity. You can push wellness back further than ever before, and I'll be getting into all of that in the next couple months. So until tomorrow at 2 o'clock, where you can find Calling Out with Susan Pinsky, and next Tuesday at 3 o'clock, Caleb, 3 o'clock next week is where we're coming back in.
Is that so? On the 12th, that's Dr. Bhattacharya. It might change.
It as 3 o'clock. So yeah, 3 o'clock. I will see you then. Ask Dr. Drew is produced by Caleb Nation and Susan Pinsky. As a reminder, the discussions here are not a substitute for medical care, diagnosis, or treatment. This show is intended for educational and informational purposes only. I am a licensed physician, but I am not a replacement for your personal doctor, and I am not practicing medicine here. Always remember that our understanding of medicine and science is constantly evolving. Though my opinion is based on the information that is available to me today, some of the contents of this show could be outdated in the future. Be sure to check with trusted resources in case any of the information has been updated since this was published. If you or someone you know is in immediate danger, don't call me, call 911. If you're feeling hopeless or suicidal, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-8255. You can find more of my recommended organizations and helpful resources at drdrew.com/help.